Hey, this is Teresa Matsura, and you're listening to Uncanny Japan. Where did we leave off last episode? Part 1 of Summer Festivals. I think we were finishing up our kakigori, shaved ice, while watching others mill about in their yukata and jinbei. I think we were just about to go play some games before the dancing began. Would you like to explore the stranger, more obscure corners of Japanese culture? Dig a little deeper into superstitions, curious customs, and all those mysterious creatures that inhabit the land? If so, then this is the podcast for you. Uncanny Japan is where I, author Teresa Matsura, share all the fascinating tidbits I unearth while doing research for my writing. From the bizarre to the ghastly, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, before we play any games, since it's dark, let's visit one yatai or portable booth you'll almost always find at these events. It's the omen or mask booth. Easily spottable because the entire back wall and sides are lined with masks. These are the old-fashioned kind, shiny, colorful plastic with a string or rubber band to keep them on. Mostly they're for kids. You'll find all manner of manga or anime characters: Ultraman, Thomas the Tank Engine, Anpanman, Doraemon, Mickey Mouse, Hello Kitty, and various Pokemon. But if you're lucky, you can also find Oni, Tengu, Okame-san, the plump-cheeked lucky lady, or Hyotoko, the mouth skewed up as if blowing into a fire, lucky guy. You might also like the fox half masks, though. These are made from paper, like paper mache, and they just cover your nose, eyes, and they give you a pair of ears. They're a little more elegant. There are all sorts of designs, black and gold, red and white, various colors. Some are decorated with flowers or curly cues. Pick one that matches your mood and wear it on the back of your head or pushed up, kind of jaunty-like, above one ear. Now, let's see what there is to do. When it comes to games at these small festivals, there are a couple you see over and over. There are the not-so-surprising ones like ring toss or bowling game, and shateki, which is shooting toy guns at objects across the counter and winning prizes. But there are a couple of unique-to-Japan games, too. The first one is yo-yo tsuri, or fishing for yo-yos. We all know what a yo-yo looks like, but Japanese old-fashioned yo-yos are different. Imagine a small water balloon, different colors, and they're ringed in brightly colored paint, too. They're half filled with air, so they aren't too heavy, and they have a long rubber band on the end with a loop that you can put your finger through, so you can bounce it around if you like. But you don't just buy one or two. You have to play a clever little game to win them. There's a small blow-up swimming pool filled with water that has dozens and dozens of these colorful little water balloons floating. Their looped rubber bands are laying every which way. How you play is you pay 100 yen or so, and you're given a several-pronged hook on the end of a long twist of paper. You get 3 tries to try to snag one. So you hold the end of the paper, and you try to hook one of the loops and pull the yo-yo out of the pool. If you do, you get to keep it. It doesn't sound too hard, except that twisted paper, which acts as a string, invariably gets wet, and when it does, it gets weaker, and eventually breaks. You have to be careful and try to find the easily hookable water yo-yos without breaking the paper. If you're good at it, you can get 3. If you're not, the paper disintegrates right away and you get nothing. If you look like you're going to cry, the person running the game might feel bad for you and give you one, just to be nice. This technique works for several of the games. They don't want to haul all that stuff back home. The next classic game is Kingyo Skui, or goldfish scooping. It's believed to have started back in the early 1800s. There are some variants, but let me talk about this one because you need some serious skills to master it. Again, here you'll have a big container of water on the ground, but instead of yo-yos, it's filled with orange and black goldfish. Some fancy places actually have demekin, which are those bulging-eyed goldfish that are quite exotic and can be incredibly expensive. They were first bred in China in the 1700s, and it was thought that their eyes looked like dragons' eyes. Anyway, how to play. First, you pay your money, and you're given a bowl and a poi, which is a thin plastic frame. Imagine the shape of a small magnifying glass or a handheld mirror. You've got the handle and the round part. Well, with a poi, the round part is just the frame, and where the glass would go, if it were a magnifying glass or a mirror for that matter, there is a circle of washi paper. Interestingly, there are standardized thicknesses of this paper. If the yatai uses a number 5, then it's a little thicker and stronger. A number 7, and it's weak. Some yatai will let you pay a little extra money for a thicker one. You get a better chance then. Like the yo-yo game, this paper is going to dissolve if it spends too much time in water. So that's the trick. You have to squat down, bowl with water in it in one hand, poi in the other, and locate the fish that you want to keep as a forever pet. The container is a little shallow, so mostly they're swimming toward the surface. Then, in one deft move, you have to slide the poi under the fish and into the bowl. It's going to get wet, and the fish are going to flop around a bit, which is going to tear the paper and even dissolve it. The trick is in the speed and the angle, the weight, and I guess the determination of the fish. I don't know really. I do know there's something called kabe sukui, which is when you scoop up the fish between the poi and the wall of the container. That's supposed to make it easier. I've seen kids get 5 or more fish with a single poi. Those kids usually have a crowd around them, and they get cheers. It's quite a sight. As long as the poi is viable, you can keep using it. For example, sometimes it tears a little, but you can still heft up a fish. I've tried this, and every single time the paper gets wet and the fish wriggles and falls through. No fish for me. No more tries. I may or may not have gone teary-eyed, but I was given a couple fish once or twice. For my effort. Once your poi is useless, someone will put your fish in a plastic bag and you can take them home. My friend got a pair of goldfish this way, and they lived something like 20 years or more. They were huge, ended up the size of softballs. For goldfish, I think they lived good lives. Did you know there's actually a national goldfish scooping championship? It's held in Nara on the 3rd Sunday in August. That's if you're really good. So there's something to put on your bucket list. Another thing about the game is that there are a lot of variations to it. You used to be able to scoop up turtles, but nowadays you see colorful super balls a lot. And sometimes containers of jello, or jelly as it's called here. With those, you usually have a small ladle, and a jet of water shoots the prizes around a donut-shaped pool, kind of like conveyor belt sushi. So the hard part here is being able to catch what you want before it zips by. Not any disintegrating paper. Phew. After all that, maybe you've worked up an appetite again? There are these treats or old-fashioned snacks in Japan called dagashi. They can be sweet or salty, but they are very, very cheap, and they're very different from what we're probably used to. For example, I know you're not supposed to play with your food, but since we're talking about games, here, let me tell you about 2 that you can play with, and you can eat when you're done. One I've probably mentioned before, neriyame. Neru means to knead or stretch, and ame is candy. This is a soft rice candy made from glutinous rice starch and sugar. It comes in a host of flavors: strawberry, lemon, cola, cider, melon, etc. And you get a big blob of it on the end of a pair of disposable chopsticks. Then you walk around with your friends, all of you taking one chopstick in each hand and spinning the sticky blob around and around, smoothing it, adding air to it. The candy becomes shinier and whiter the longer you knead or stretch it, and the texture too changes, becomes lighter, chewier, fun. I've seen kids walk around all night doing this to see who can get the most kneaded candy. It's kind of like making your own taffy. So that's one thing. But there's also something called rakugaki senbei. Senbei, you might have heard before, is basically rice crackers. But these are very thin, more like wafers. Not much flavor at all either, although they are called takosen, which means octopus cracker, so maybe a little octo flavor. The ones I had didn't taste like anything at all, though. But don't worry, they will taste like something. The rakugaki part of rakugaki senbei means graffiti or doodling. So graffiti crackers or doodle wafers. You're given one. It's about the size of a saucer. It's plain, no design, a blank slate, if you will. Then you, or children more likely, are allowed to use brushes dipped in different flavored sugary liquids to draw some picture on the cracker. Flowers, your name, Pikachu. Oh, but that's not all. Next, you get to hold the thin wafer over bowls filled with colored sugar, and you use a spoon to dust different parts of your picture. The sugar sticks to the wet areas, and you make your own unique, pretty design. Sugar and octopus-flavored treats. Okay, I'm kidding. It doesn't really taste like octopus. But it's very Instagrammable. Instagrammable, by the way, is Instabuy in Japanese, in case you wanted to know. Okay, there's an announcement and someone, or someone's, climb the Yagura. Remember the tall wooden stage in the middle of the grounds? And it's time for the official Bon Odori dance to begin. I actually talked more in detail about the Bon Odori in episode 58, so if you want to go there to hear more, there's that. I'll link it in the show notes, or you can search on the Uncanny Japan website. I guess the one thing about it that shocked me is that it's actually practiced. I don't know what I thought. I think I might have just assumed that everyone in Japan was born knowing how to do Bon Odori or something. Remember last episode when I told you about the Kodomokai, the Children's Association? Well, one of the benefits to this group is that it's the place where all the moms and the grandmoms teach the different Obon dances to the children. Each town or city has a couple different styles they dance over and over. So a month beforehand, you literally gather at night in some parking lot or park once a week or so, and music is played on a portable CD player or a cassette player, but you might need to Google that. They still use those in my neck of the woods, by the way. And everyone dances. Back to the festival. You're full. You've gotten a break from all the summer homework, which is a lot, by the way. And you've been able to hang out with your friends. You've played some games, you've danced some dances, and then the taiko drums stop. If your neighborhood association has a nice budget, another announcement is made. This time, everyone finds a place to sit. It's preferable to have something to sit on. A small vinyl sheet will do, or you can just stand there and look up. Because next is the fireworks display. You really can't have a Japanese summer without fireworks. One of the joys of summer in Japan is sitting in your living room, hearing the boom, 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 and running to the stairs, up to your veranda, to see if you can see the fireworks from some temple or school or shrine or something. It happens almost every weekend. And then comes the end of summer. Okay, thank you all for listening. Welcome, new patrons. All my love and gratitude to all of my patrons. Last week's Sunday night blog was a gingery lime inari sushi recipe. If you haven't seen that, so check it out. It felt kind of summery. I will talk to you all again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. You've reached the end of the show, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate you listening and supporting us. Any subscribing, reviewing, and gushing to your friends, family, even random strangers really does help keep us going. If you have the means and you want to help a little more and get a little more, we are making extra content over on Patreon, all for only $5 a month. Or if you like to read horror, you might be interested in my Bram Stoker-nominated short story collection, The Carp-Faced Boy and Other Tales. 本当にありがとうございます. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you real soon. Phew.